My name's Kirsty Anderson. I've been a photographer at the Herald for over 20 years. I'd like to share some of the things I've learned about portrait photography that may help you on a shoot. One of the most important things for me when I'm taking a portrait is to have empathy with the person I'm photographing. Put yourself in their shoes because they might feel nervous. So try to make them feel comfortable by chatting to them and finding some common ground even before you start to take pictures, because that will help them relax and forget about the camera. Making a portrait involves a variety of decisions that will affect the overall look and feel of the finished image. First of all, is the location relevant? Do you want to include the environment the subject is in because it gives context to the portrait, or do you want to focus purely on the person? You can do this by how you choose to frame your subject and also by using your lens aperture to control what you want to keep in focus. If you want to keep everything sharp in the frame, use an f-stop like 16. If you want to throw the background out of focus to concentrate on the person, open the aperture to an f-stop like 2.8. A lot of portraits are made with studio lighting, but natural light can be just as effective and everyone has access to it. Whether you're using natural light indoors or outside, avoid times like mid-afternoon when the light is most powerful and will create contrast and harsh shadows. I find morning and late afternoon light generally more flattering and interesting to work with. Indoors, I make good use of window light, making sure it falls onto my subject rather than behind them, as this will create a silhouette. To make the most of natural light, you can use a reflector or piece of light card or sheet to reflect some light onto your subject to lift any shadows you don't want to include. If you're shooting outside in midday sun, look for some shade to avoid harsh shadows, and again you can make good use of a reflector shooting outdoors. I find it useful when wandering around outside to think about the street as a studio for future shoots. There are a lot of interesting natural backgrounds all around us. For example, say a textured wall, old doors, peeling paint, or an underpass with shafts of light, and I always try to keep a note of them. A question I get asked a lot is, how would you like me to pose? I don't find it useful to have people pose in a way that's unnatural to them, but I do give some direction during a shoot, asking them to move or change position to capture different looks. You might want to create intensity in a portrait by having the subject look straight into the camera, or you might have them looking away, creating a more reflective atmosphere, depending on what you want the finished portrait to convey. So there are quite a few things to think about, but at the end of the day, we're trying to capture some sort of essence of who this person is in their portrait. It's good to be prepared ahead of your shoot, but remember to be open to spontaneity and have fun. Don't worry too much if it doesn't go exactly to plan, because you might end up with an even better shot than you thought you would.